Pinky. I told you. You'll take this out, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
But Mom, today I want to ask you. My baby's got it.
Hey, my lovely YouTubers. Welcome back to my YouTube channel with me, your girl, Morgan Tracy J. Coming today with a new YouTube video for our morning coffee. And today I have a very, very special guest with me that I love so much. And it is my mama.
Hi.
Honestly, you guys, we haven't done this in a while. It's been a little while. The first year, which was about 5 years ago, maybe 6. Yeah, we did one on mother-daughter relationships. And then we did one a few years after that on where we were. And now we're doing another one today on mother-daughter encouragement. So this is something that I feel like the Lord has been putting on my heart, though, to talk about mother-daughter encouragement. Because I will say, at a season when I didn't really even love myself, my mama was always encouraging me. I always say that she was my number one cheerleader.
Always
Was, even when I failed out of college. And so, Mama, today I want to ask you, did you ever make a conscious decision that I'm going to be there for my daughter even when she doesn't want to be there for herself or show up for herself?
You know what? I think that as a mother, you do say those types of things to yourself, but the natural part is, I think, the love that just comes through, and it just, you're there, 1,000, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
You just do it. You can say, you know what, no matter what, she's going to hold her head up, and she's going to keep moving.
Yeah. And I will say, you don't think of it in the moment, but there was a time I failed out of college, and I just got the news that I failed. And I remember I come to you and I'm telling you, and she was so stern. She was like, it don't matter, like she was just so stern. And I remember after the fact, I was like, why were you so hard on me? But you said, I saw your faith breaking. Like I saw your faith shaking.
Yeah.
And it did, it shook my faith. But in a way, so sometimes I think our parents are stern because they need us to be strong.
Right.
And I think that was an experience I had. At first, I was upset with you, it's like, why was Mama so mean? But truly, it was, and you told me later, it's because I seen your faith shake. I seen you start to crumble. For a mama out there, any mom, where she might see her child, her daughter, her son, anyone, struggling with loving themselves and truly showing up, or even being behind in life, what would be your encouragement to her to tell for her children?
You just have to stand up and be there for them and be that backbone that they need, that hand up, the shoulder to cry on, but that backbone. I grew up without a mother, but I had strong women in my life. My aunts, my sister, my grandmother, my granny. So those are the things that, I always told my kids, I want you to do better than me. So, no matter what, you're gonna keep moving, and you're gonna get past this, because this is just a small bump in the road. This is just a small thing. This isn't, if you look at the big picture, this is nothing.
Yeah.
And so, as mothers to our daughters, we have to encourage our children. And whenever you see them hurt, and you have to be that strong. You have to be that strength. You have to be that strong mother until they can stand on their own. Ooh. And they know that strength, no matter what, it's in them. You just have to give it time for them to process it, for them to see it themselves.
Yes. And no, she hit the nail on the head with that, because I was at a season where I felt behind in life. I said I didn't even love myself. I didn't like what I saw. Yeah. And she would always be like, oh, you have a ministry, you do this. Yes. And I was like, no, like, don't say nothing. Like, I don't even like me. And so I will say, being a woman, that's kind of when you feel like you're behind in life, you don't feel good about yourself, having someone in your corner that's like, you're good. Right. You're good. Exactly. Keep going. That's really what you need. Also, Mama, I will say, there's this saying you said to me when I moved back home, and will you share that with them, from Maya Angelou?
Oh yes, it was one of my favorite stories in her cookbook, and she said that her mother never made her feel like she had failed anything, and her mother always said when she come back home, there must be something that I haven't taught you yet.
Yes.
Yes.
And you know what? And that's something like my mom's door, her door has always been open to me, okay? And so that's something every time she's never been like, go, like put me out. She's always been like, there still must be something I haven't taught you. Like you have to learn here. And I will say every time I have come back home, I always got a new level of understanding of myself. And
Right.
and maybe also to see myself in ways like to come home and heal in a way.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's what it had really been for me. Also, I will say this, like, I was sitting here looking and I'm like, how can I show love through a camera? Because
Right.
there's only so much the camera can capture from a relationship. And I was sitting here thinking like, Lord, how do I show the love that I have for my mom through this camera? And I will say this, when it comes to a relationship, you have to be the first to love.
Mm-hmm.
You can't wait on your mama to love you or she can't wait on me to
Right.
love her.
Exactly.
You have to be the first to love, and even when it's hard, and Lord knows
Yes.
we know about that.
We've had our struggles.
We have.
over the years.
We have had so many struggles, and honestly, maybe you can talk on that. When a parent doesn't quite agree with their child, but how do you love them through that?
Honestly, from the way I had to come at it was that, of course I had to reach out to God, and I had to say, God, like, I know I've raised my child. I know that I'm your child, and I know that I have to love my child like you love me. And even though I do wrong, and I know that God loves me, and I know that even if I don't agree with things from whatever, I still have to show that love, and because that's what God does for me. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things, and I know that God had to let me know, like, hey, Arita, you've raised your daughter. This is not, you need to trust the goodness that I put in her, and the godly woman that she is with her life. And, let me deal and work through her. And it's nothing that you can do. You can just love her the way I love you. Ooh. And so that is what I've...
Yeah, that's a word.
Yes, and that is what I've had to really, say, God, like, I had to submit and just release my daughter to God, and my other daughter and my son, and say, you know what, those are your children. I'm their earthly mother, but you're the ultimate father. And that's what that is what I know that I had to do, is just say, you know what, they're grown up, and
Yeah. No, that's good, because I think as children, you never want to fail your parent. Like, you want your parent to always see you highly. You're like, are you proud of me, Mom? Are you proud of me, Dad? And I think that's kind of how I have been for a long time. Just not with God, but also with you. Like, are you proud of me, Mommy? Are you proud of me? And I do think that now that I'm, getting to different phases of my life where I'm like, okay, I'm finally stepping into my own, and
Yes.
trying to be like, okay, is Morgan proud? Am I making the Lord proud? Like, am I proud of
Right.
what I'm creating and what I'm doing? And that's right there, I will say, is sometimes a clash, though. Yes,
it is.
Because sometimes it's a clash within yourself, and then sometimes it's a clash within someone you love, and they're like, I don't agree with that, So,
Right.
so we have definitely had our clashes. And one thing I will say to the daughters out there is, and I said it in a previous video, but continue to forgive. Like, this is their first time here too. Like,
Yes.
this is their first experience here, and this is your first experience here on earth. Like, continue to forgive. And you always say 70 times 70,
Yes, and I just seen something, and it just struck home with me, and we're all just walking each other home.
Ooh,
yes, and to love each other.
Yeah, that's good.
Because time is really short.
Oh, it's so short. It's so short. And yeah, that right there makes me like, it does. It makes me, and I was just telling Mom before we recorded this, I said, there's been so many ladies in the ministry in this last year have written me about losing their mom. And I honestly can't fathom it. And I had an aunt, a cousin that just lost her mom, which was my aunt. And that is something that we don't ever want to think about. But I will say this to the daughters out there: love your mama. love her, you know, try. I know you're busy, like we know it.
Yes.
Make time for her, love on her, and don't wait for her to love you. Don't wait for her to say, hey, baby, let's go do, you know, you try to just make the time and try your best to love her first. Because I will say, it'll never return to you void if you put out love. It won't. Mom, can you give me an experience or any advice you have for women who have lost their mother?
You'll always that love that you have for your mother, it'll never end. Love never dies. Mm-hmm. Live your life, and wherever you go in life, you know, you've been imprinted by your mother, and you'll carry her with you for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. If you live to be 80, 90, 100, and, you know, talk about her. Mm-hmm. Remember all the good things, everything, you know, that made her who she is. Mm-hmm. The big things, the small things, talk about her. Don't stop talking about her. Mm-hmm. And that's how you really and truly honor your mother, mm-hmm. is by living, serving God, mm-hmm. truly, and just, you know, never forget everything. You know, I always say this about myself, okay? If I was to leave this earth, I want my children to remember all the love.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so sweet. And we obviously will. We will. But I was like thinking, like, I don't like to think about that, but that is also a real thing. You have
and
to.
we've talked about it.
Yeah,
and it's something that will happen to all of us.
To all of us. And I think it's something we should not fear. And going through a lot of grief, right. Sometimes it can grab you, you know, and I've definitely talked about that on my channel. But one thing I will say is with my mom, growing up, she was crazy lady, but I loved it. That's where I get it from. She was so crazy. But I will say one thing she always did, and now like I do it naturally and I love it, but she would always be like, rise and shine, rise baby girl. Yes. Like, you know, she would just always kind of, without realizing it, she's always been an encourager. And so when I got older in life, I needed a cheerleader because mm-hmm. I didn't feel like I was good enough. I had all this internal hurt and internal wounds, and so I needed someone in my corner. And if I didn't have my dad, then I had my mom, you know? So my mom has always been that encourager for me, and that number one cheerleader. And that's kind of
always. Yeah. Always will be.
Yeah, she has been. And I always say that, like, how do you say this? Help me, Holy Spirit. When you go through a season when you don't love yourself, you know, and you can't even look at yourself and truly feel that love, but then you feel someone else saying, oh girl, you're doing great, set this world on fire, show up, oh baby girl, I loved what you put on there, I loved your devotional, like I watched your video. Like when you have that in your corner, even though you truly can't see yourself, you see somebody else sees the real you, mm-hmm. even when you can't see you. And I think that's what my mom was for me. Like with my early YouTube days and devotional days, like I was just always, like, just had all this hormonal acne. I hated the way I looked and everything. And she just was like, oh, baby girl, I love that.
Oh, I know it. Morgan's always been beautiful to me. And I always say, this is one of my favorite things that I've said, and it's true. I always say, Morgan, if I had the fire that you have, if I had what you have this age, I would have set this world on fire.
Yes.
And I tell her that all the time. You set this world on fire.
Yeah, and she told me that at like 23, I think, is when I first, and that maybe you've told me before, but that's when it hit me, like, okay, I'm gonna try. Yeah, I'm gonna try. Lord have mercy. It's been a journey. It has definitely been a journey, but even today, this is something so crazy. Like me and my mom, last night I was looking at old videos that we shot together, and we did it from her living room. We always did it from the living room, and even when I was looking at it, and I thought, oh, thank you, Lord. because of the growth. Like that's only God, honestly. Like it's not me, it's not my work ethic. Trust me, I'm feeble, I fall off, I mentally don't want to do things. But I just want to say that when we first shot that video to where we are today, not only in our personal lives, but even where we are as individuals in our heart and our faith with God, it has truly been. It looks like 20 years have passed.
Really?
Doesn't it? Like,
well, sometimes when I think about it, yes, because God, He's just been, He's changed our whole lives.
And also in changing that, He has brought a deeper healing. Healing, yes. And in ways that you almost feel like you can shake the dry bones off, like shake things. Like,
yes.
It literally, you walk lighter, you live lighter, like you live freer. So I will say that even though it's been like, 5 years since we probably shot that video, if I was truly talking about it, like if I could look back then, it feels like 20 years.
Right. You know what? I can see that. And I always think to myself, like no matter what me and Morgan have gone through, I'm going to always be that support.
Yeah.
That encouragement.
Yeah.
And that's just.
And you know what? We might go 24 hours without talking or something because we get on each other's nerves. But you better believe the next time we talk, it's just like water in the bridge. We're like, okay, like back to the next thing. And I will say, me and my sister have had to learn this through my mother losing her sister. We had to learn that we have to forgive faster. And we learned that. And even that, not just each other, but we have to forgive our mama quicker. Like, if she offends me on a Tuesday, I've got to forgive her in that next 30 seconds. Like, forgive her, okay? Like, if I got an attitude with her on a Friday, the next day she needs to already have that thing water under the bridge. And so that's what I would encourage you, because we know our days here are numbered. And, yeah.
And I'm quick to send a text like, hey, I wasn't trying to offend you, but I needed to say what I needed to say. And there was no...
Let it go, Morgan.
Yeah, there was no malice in it. And, it wasn't intended to hurt you, but just really, recognize or, hey, what's... Yeah. My dad had an expression. He would say, spit it out, put it on the table, and so...
And I have been told that many times from her.
You know what? You can be as direct with me as... Because I love my children, and I have a soft voice, but I'm real firm. Yes, I am.
She is. She is. Don't let the sweetness and softness fool you. So I have one final question for my mother, and I want to ask you, if there was anything to leave with the mamas today, anything you could say to them, let's say this was something that you wanted just to leave on their hearts. Anything you would want to leave with the mamas?
Yeah, I know the last time, it was about loving your children and forgiving them. But I know that in this season in my life, it's about letting your children, your adult children, your teenage children, teenage daughter, however old, see them for who they are, one of God's daughters, and love them like He loves you.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, well, I don't know if I'm going to get my last word. Oh, Lord. Okay. Okay, that's so good. Oh, that's good. Thank you. In a way, you don't realize it, but that's healing in itself. Yeah. Oh. Oh, thank you.
It's because we love each other so much. Our emotions are here.
They are.
We're ready to overflow. This is what it's going to be like in heaven.
I know, you're just like,
oh, love.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. No, that's so good, though. But, oh, thank you. Oh, that was healing. So she's just see your children for who they are. And I think that's something that's so sweet. And I had a whole little thing going on in my head, I'm going to say all this at the end. But I was to the daughters out there, literally, see your parents for who they are. This is their first walk around the sun, too. They're figuring this out as well. And see them for who they are. And I will say this, love them. Just the love that you need, you need encouragement, you need someone in your corner, give that to them, because they need that some days. Some days they don't, like, and most likely some of our parents have already went on with the Lord. And so their parents aren't on this earth anymore. They don't have that parent to call and lean on and say, like, hey, Dad, this is tough. Hey, Mom.
Right.
And so I just want to encourage you to, at times, just open your heart for them and be like, you know, encourage them, help them out in any way that you can. And I will say, too, the younger generation, I know we're so busy, and I know we got a lot of things on our plate, and we feel like this is all just so important. But when they or you, when people get to their final moments in life, it's not about that work schedule. It's not about all those tasks. And I learned that with losing people I loved, that what really matters is that time with them.
Right.
Yeah. Like for me now, like what matters is Mother's Day, spending Mother's Day with my mama. It don't matter spending Mother's Day on a stage preaching somewhere. Like that, I could care less about that. Now it's like I would rather spend these pivotal times with the people I love versus just trying to get to the next thing. So that's my encouragement. Thank y'all for joining our cry session.
Thank you. I know.
we cried, but we were laughing before we even started this, and now we just ended in Samir's makeup.
I know.
I told
But
you
it's okay.
We should have took the photos before.
Yes.
Yes, but thank y'all so much for watching, and so many of you have been blessed by the previous videos we shot, and that's why every so often we do this again. And I just want to say that it's nothing we do. We're just sharing our journey, and it's truly God's hand in it. And it's so crazy. And I'm going to put those old video clips on the screen, but it's so crazy how 5 years ago can feel like 20 in the Lord.
Yes.
About what he can do in your heart.
Yes.
What he can do in your life. Yes. What
He's
he can
done a
do.
lot.
Like he does a lot. He does so much. And so I just want to encourage you, if you feel like you and your mother's relationship is nowhere where it should be, and it's like, oh, it'll never be there, trust the Lord. Try God.
That's right.
Try God.
That's
Try
right.
God. Yeah. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for watching. I hope this video blessed you and encouraged you. I would encourage you to comment down below your favorite takeaway so we can bless somebody else in the comments. And I will see you in our next one. Bye. Thank you, Mama,
Bye.
for joining.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
She's
Bye.
back. Bye. We cried our makeup off.